Good morning, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Thursday morning, August 6th. We're looking at the last 3 days of the SPY ETF's market profile here on Window Trader. And as you can see, after the failed effort yesterday by the bulls to close that upside gap that's been there since February, the bears are attempting to gap lower and fill yesterday's gap. And don't forget, we have the monthly and weekly gap below us. Also, as I was looking after the video yesterday, I was just looking at yesterday what transpired, and it just hit me how you can have a day where the market-generated information is very clear, where the market gets in a tight range, gets too long, flushes out, gets too short, goes back. But what M does, it really is, it was a good lesson. Continues to be a good lesson for me, and it should be for inexperienced and experienced traders out there. M period is the 2-year-old that's on the sugar high tantrum. There's just no reasoning with it. No reasoning. We took out L's high, took out L's low for a reversal bar, only to come back, take out L's high, and close near the high of the day and almost made an entire new range. And remember, I said, we don't know if the price probe is accepted or rejected. Remember, we had a downside price probe until A period. Well, last night, you wouldn't have think it's going to be accepted. Well, right now, with an hour 10 to go prior to the opening, it's being accepted on a gap lower. So, lesson is, there is no reason to trade M period unless there's a clear vision of what way it wants to go. Now, what are we looking at this morning? Well, we're looking at a possible island reversal. Not an island top. An island top can only happen at the all-time high. But it would be an island reversal where we gap higher and then gap lower, leave this all by itself on a little island. Gap after gap after gap. 81st gap of the year, possibly. First one in August to the downside. Emotional trading, mindless trading. You can call it whatever you want. But it's a fact of life here in 2020. So let's go over destinations and a game plan. So right now, we will use yesterday's low on both sides of the equation. So yesterday's low was 331.18. So I'll use that as my first upside destination. Then above that, we have 331.23, which is the price probe. So if this gap does get filled, this price probe probably will be rejected. Above that, we don't have anything until 13 wide, which was going to be a downside destination, but is now an upside destination of 331.87, a perfect POC. They're rare. Now, I have seen perfect POCs. They should get revisited, right? Buyers and sellers were thrilled to do business here, but I've seen them go months without being revisited. So there's no guarantee of it. And then above that, we have yesterday's high of 332.39 and filling that gap at 332.58. It's only 19 points remaining. For the downside, we'll still use yesterday's low of 331.18. And then filling the gap at 330.06. That's a 112-point gap from yesterday, August 5th. Below that, we have the price probe from the 4th at 329.66, 329.04, which was 10 wide, and then 327.86 daily low. And below that, we have those other two lows, 327.73, and then filling the monthly gap at 327.23, and then filling the weekly gap at 326.63. So what is the game plan for this morning? Well, right now, we do have jobless claims coming out today, so at 8:30 things could change dramatically. But we're looking at gap into a gap. It's only $1 gap, right? Yesterday's low to the previous day's high. So there's not a lot to lean on either way. Do I want to short it, looking for it to fill the gap? Do I want to long it, looking for it to fill the gap? So why not let the market tell you what you want to do? If you fill this gap, if you fill the upside gap and there's no island reversal, well, we know the history of M period, right? Plain and simple. There's a lot of times it trades the entire range. Well, if it trades the entire range today, you can have an outside day up. That's how wacky this market's been. But I would think if you get accepted into M period, the least you're going to do is visit that perfect POC. On the flip side, if this gap holds, well then for sure you're going to fill this gap and then look at this M range, which was also erratic after what K period did, and the odds of trading this range will be very good and getting to that 10 wide POC. So M period, again, not the day of, but in the following days, is so much more important and so much more, I guess you can say, readable. So if you get into this M, you're going to this POC. You get into this M, you're going to that POC. So do I want to take a chance if we open right in the middle of this gap? Not really. Maybe we'll fill both gaps, but there's no reason for me to do that right away. Just isn't. Now in the next hour, if we open all the way down here into this range, well, now I have something to lean on, right? It's only $1, so I would take any kind of put play if we came back out of it to see if we do trade this. Same here. In the next hour, we open inside M. You can take a long against this low, certainly out below it, but if you get accepted, then I'd probably take a call because you're going back to this POC, although value would be lower to start. Again, you're in CamelbackTrading.org's trading room for only $20 a month. You're getting that information firsthand right at the opening and throughout the trading day. And then on the charts, we'll just look at weekly and daily right now. Weekly, the question is, what gap's getting filled first? This one. I mean, if this one gets filled first, is it a disaster? Not necessarily. But I think by tomorrow you would like to close above these 2 weeks highs. If you don't, you're back into this 2-week balance, right? And then balance rules will apply. So it's important, I think, for the bulls, if they do close that gap from yesterday, or the weekly gap, not to close inside of it. Because what's the bottom of that 2-week balance? 319 level, right? We had two lows that were very close together, and they're both weekly lows. So guess what? If the bulls fail and close inside this 2-week balance, you're going to see the 319 level. And same on the daily, except the daily has this gap to contend with, and then the one that would be the weekly gap. So I don't have an issue if the bulls fail at yesterday's gap, right? Then you're in the 2-day balance, and you certainly want to hold the 327, 328 level, right? That's important. That's baby steps for the bears. Fill this gap and then get to the bottom of the 2-day balance. For the bulls, it's not a disaster if yesterday's gap fills, but you don't want to get below this 2-day balance low. Volume's been horrendous. Under 42 million yesterday, under 43 million the day before. To put that in perspective, in February, March, we had M periods where we did 40 million in one period. Average volume is down to 65 million. It is pure summer trading right now with no catalyst. We'll see if the jobless claims and the non-farm payrolls change that going forward. Good luck trading today. Have a great day, and we'll recap at 4 p.m.